Hey, if you want to drop your link to a Comicsgate project, the way to do it and get around YouTube does not allow links unless they're pinned. The way to do it is you write your text like this is my comic book, and then you post it, and then you reply to yourself, and the link will show up in your reply. If you want to show off your Comicsgate project, or if you want me to take a look at it, let me know. I will gladly do so. Did the Brightweisers burn Comicsgate? You never regain lost trust. Yes, sort of, but I'm not outraged. Let's keep things in perspective. They're late on delivery of the comic because they arranged a deal with Walmart that is going to make them a lot of money. That is dirty, but they didn't take the money and run. We're not talking moral turpitude here. But I understand people who are done with them. I wouldn't do what they did, and I would never do business with them because they can't be trusted. But they're not thieves. They engaged in sharp business practices. There are plenty of guys in CG who do deliver on time. Tim Lim, JDA, Sweetcast, and a bunch of others. Be like them. Deliver on time and give good customer service. There are a few people in CG who don't take criticism well. I get the feeling that Mitch is not one of those people. He seems very, very tightly wound. But I gotta be honest, and if I make any errors in my understanding of the situation, let me know in the comments. The Brightweisers did a few things sort of weird. And keep in mind, I made a video a while ago defending his late campaign. So I'm very much impartial to this thing. They tried to fund a second book before the first one was delivered, and Antonio Bryce ran into this issue, and some people were saying, you got to do the first one, complete the first one first, and people say, oh well, your boy didn't do it, and it's like, well, he's your boy, and people know him and they trust him, and he's got, when he launched, he had like 50,000 subs, and now he's got over 100. He's different. People know him, they trust him. If you've only got a few thousand subs and you're not making daily content, even if you don't have many subs, you still need to make daily content or close to daily content, because people need to know, they need to hear you, they need to see you, they need to know that you're reliable enough to do something, even if nobody really watches the videos, even if you're just, like, you don't really have time to make it, it's like, just read an article for 10 minutes just to put something up there so people can kind of smell you, get the flavor of you. So they tried to fund the second book before the first one was delivered, and that was by his wife and not him, but people were not falling for it. It didn't make half of what Red Rooster did because people didn't know the couple. They didn't trust them. And they rubbed some people the wrong way. Something was a little bit off about them. I'm not saying they have bodies in the basement or questionable lampshades, but you can't be too careful. Then you add in that he wasn't making himself as available on YouTube as other creators because he was working deals with Walmart. But while that's not fraud, it is a sharp business practice. People felt like he used Comicsgate to get them on the hook for $180,000 while knowing the book was going to be late. That is very shady. But he took a gamble with burning Comicsgate and making Walmart pay off. And it probably will. I think in the article it says he's already grossed $500,000 or $600,000 with Walmart, and that's only going to go up. Walmart is a great deal for him, but he did burn his Comicsgate bridges. But this isn't a Critias situation where your money is gone. We can see that Mitch is working on the book. He does live streams, but Walmart has product while the people who trusted him have empty mailboxes. So there is a lot of shady business practices that add up to a very poor impression of their trustworthiness. And I know he is high-strung, so if he hears this, it will go over like a Led Zeppelin. There was not exactly shady behavior also by EVS, but careless behavior. Mitch was on EVS's show, but he never raised the Comicsgate flag, while everyone else did. So there's something akin to detrimental reliance with the expectation that he was CG and obviously was going to deliver on time, though not everyone has. So, got to be fair there. And to deliver to the backers first, not Walmart. In fact, some of the biggest campaigns have not delivered on time. But a little bit lateness. You gotta look at the standards and practices of the business, what is customary, and a little bit of lateness is fine. That's not so much the issue. Even 2 years late, that's pretty late actually. But the issue of someone else getting their product before the backers did. That's what has people very, very pissed off, is that they felt they were used. It wasn't just an honest 2 years delay. Did EVS have a duty of care to ask some hard questions to determine the guest's position? Yes, probably. But he isn't a professional host, at least not at the time, and we are all learning this stuff. This is new to everyone. This is, what is it, like 2 years old? The not being Comicsgate isn't such a big deal as long as you do deliver on time and don't insult the customer. So I'm not outraged at Mitch. You are going to get the product, but I think most backers no longer want it. But at least they can sell it on eBay. The whole situation is a mess, but it's not a Critias situation or B. Claymore where it's gone on like 5 or 6 years, where B. Claymore honestly looks like he drank the money away. I think he raised $50,000 for Big Hawaiian Dick, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. And maybe, to the Brightweisers' credit, they have a great explanation, and they will come back to Comicsgate's good graces. He had a very bright future with Comicsgate, and there was just no reason to burn Comicsgate backers and burn those bridges. He would have made at least $250,000 or more with Comicsgate if he didn't burn those bridges. All right, this article is way, way overwritten. The guy goes into the whole history of just about everything to do with Arkansas and who's who in the comic scene. But this is relevant to us. Meanwhile, one subplot remains a bit more ticklish. The Brightweisers worry some people in the comics world because of their friendliness with comic creators who have fostered a toxic subculture within comics. This is on the writer, not on the Brightweisers, because anyone can take anything out of context. So you can't really. You got to be careful throwing someone under the bus. This is the writer's fault. He's kind of assuming the conclusion without proving that there is a toxic subculture, because obviously the other side of it would be, actually the Mark Wades of the world, the guy who's getting sued. Yeah, him and the SCWs are the toxic subculture within comics, or the main culture, I guess. In a shrinking industry where most creators publicly cheer new ventures, some of their peers so wary of the culture fight they decided to decline to comment for the story. Brightweisers are adamant that they're building an inclusive, non-political platform, and that they don't support those who would pick on others in the comics community. Okay, and then the rest of the article goes on. You give him the interview, you don't know what the guy edited out and what he threw in there. If I was giving this interview, I would be very, very kind. I wouldn't want to pull a Doug Tenable and, kind of not thank somebody. I would want to, simultaneously, he's looking for his future and making millions at Walmart. You got to thank the people who brought you here, and be very careful not to throw anyone under the bus. There's ways to diplomatically phrase it. You can think this stuff up. Obviously, before the interview, I'm sure you sat down and took notes and figure out a way to thank the people who brought you to the dance. Dance with who brought you kind of thing. Not imply that CG is any of these things, because I don't think you go into it here, but yeah, you were on the CG shows, and you never said I'm CG, and people didn't press you on it. I didn't either. I didn't think it was an issue if you wanted to be CG, because I thought, at the time CG could just interview whoever the hell they wanted to. It's Ethan's platform. He can interview whoever he wants. But then later on, people, Malin was saying, and I was saying too, it's like there is strength in claiming CG and supporting CG only. And War Campaign, to their credit, said that too. They said a lot of great things too. Because if you're already, if the industry's gonna throw CG out of the under the bus, it is very important to support CG creators, even if you don't necessarily get along with everyone, because you are already pariahs in an industry. And you may feel differently. That's fine. It's just I would always, go to bat for CG first. But that was when CG was getting far started. It's like, I don't know. This is over 2 years ago, I think, when this was going on. So that's kind of a little funky. Okay, so I'm saying is that you want to be very, very clear and say CG was nothing but kind. I saw just a bunch of great, diverse, eclectic, eccentric group of people who, they felt they weren't treated. They felt the mainstream comics industry was hostile to people who were moderates or even right of center. But they're straw manning the group when they say it's some kind of toxic subculture. No, that's not true at all. It's a very loose group of people. It's like saying the Democrats or the Republicans are toxic. Well, there are weirdos and great people in every group. CG is just, it's more moderate and more right of center. It's not far left, and far left people run the mainstream industry. So I'm just saying, like, if I was giving an interview, you got to go to bat for the people who brought you a little bit. So who knows what he said, and who knows how this thing was edited. Okay, so that they don't support those who would pick on others in the comics community. Well, yeah, neither does CG. CG criticizes bad comics. And it wasn't... This all started with Meyer's Diversity in Comics channel. He wasn't picking on the creators. He was picking on the comics 100%. What happened was they saw these YouTube videos where this guy is criticizing their really crappy comics. They lost their freaking minds, and they started ad hominem attacks. They immediately investigated him, his family, his kids. They talked stuff about his girlfriends or wives, I don't know, and his kids. They talked about his kids. That is so sick and creepy. If you got a problem with somebody, you have a problem with them. You don't have a problem with their wives. It's completely irrelevant. And their kids, that is effing disgusting. That is... I mean, there's a lot of things I can say about that. That those people do not. Well, I can't say it on YouTube. There's some weirdo SJWs out there. Michelle Perez is one of them. Max Sazio is also one of them, and I'm saying that because they advocated for violence, and then also Michelle Perez referenced the guy's kids. That is so fucking creepy. So there's a lot of weirdness with the SJWs. Anyway, he criticized the comics, the stories, sometimes the art. They came back with ad hominems, total personal attacks against the guy. Then he started to talk about them because they were talking about him. If you go back to his early videos, he was talking about comics. They made it personal because they're very thin-skinned little bitches. There are a few people in Comicsgate who are very, very thin-skinned. If you've been around, you probably know who they are by now, which is fine, because, I mean, that's okay. Well, no, I mean, it's not really okay. It's, do I want to go into it? Yeah, 13 minutes. No, I'm not going to go into it. Okay. Maybe on a live stream. And because on a live stream, people have the opportunity to call in and talk back, give their side of the story. Okay, the comic industry was in trouble, and he talks later in this, he's talking about the changing industry, and it went from 15,000 stores a few years ago, generation ago, to 1,000 or 2 now. They're doing something wrong. Something is seriously, seriously wrong. So when you have people criticizing an industry that is in orders of magnitude of decline, you probably want to at least listen to what they have to say. People who were fans of comics for a long time, pre 1990, I would say. 15,000 stores strong. A generation ago now, it's down to 1,000. You want to listen to the critics who are criticizing this, because this is something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong here. So these people are obviously very, very defensive. They know the industry is shrinking radically. Comicsgate did something special. It didn't start their own crowdfunding industry, but Diversity in Comics, he definitely put it on the map for the outsider to start making comics, to start making a channel, get on social media and actually sell something. Other people did it too, but he definitely put it on the map for people who were moderates or right of center. But, there are all kinds of people. If you're an SJW, you're not going to be comfortable in Comicsgate. But if you can talk to people you disagree with, then you will be comfortable. You can be gay or straight or whatever. You just can't be an SJW, because SJWs believe in censorship. You got to be able to at least, like, an SJW wouldn't even go on somebody's show in CG. That's kind of the definition of an SJW, because they believe in guilt by association. Because you said one thing they found offensive a month ago. Like Doug TenNapel made some comments about, whatever. He's kind of a shitlord. He's got a sense of humor. He's a funny guy. He's a really funny guy. About the trans something. He had some discussion with some guy on Kotaku who, I don't know, used wrong pronouns or the right pronouns. And Doug's just being a wise ass, like I am, and like a bunch of, like Ethan is, a lot of other people are. But because he did that, some people cut their ties with him. That was really, really mild. He's not throwing gay men off of rooftops. He had some mild, or Mike Miller did the same thing, Pride is a Sin. That's really nothing that's within the realm, the envelope of not something you even mention. It's just not a big deal. It's not something you would blow up, but SCWs blow everything out of proportion. Anyway, long enough video. You can check this out. I'll put the archive link in the chat. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can click the links, or if you want me to take a look at your project or do some editing for you, I'll make a video out of it, and you can send me an email. All right, guys, I will see you all next episode.